today we're going to be talking about and sort of recapping. It's going to be a form of, is it for you to participate and to partake in One Book July? And I know that we are just wrapping up July right now, but if you're kind of walking away from this month feeling like, oh, should I have done it? Should I not have done it? I do think that this whole concept, this whole trend has so much to offer. And I will tell you why I didn't partake in it. And I will give you some examples of who it would actually be ideal for and what can be like our main takeaways going forward that you can actually apply to your day-to-day planning sessions. So if that sounds good, then why don't we just kind of get started? So the whole concept if you're not familiar, so the whole concept of One Book July, the whole idea behind it is essentially to kind of like minimize what you do and really compress your system. This is ideal for those of you that have multiple systems and you're sort of feeling like you're not really satisfied with it and you wanted to kind of challenge yourself to see if you can just dump everything into one system and see if you can kind of like plan your life out that way. And potentially, if you wanted to add another layer to it, then to kind of challenge yourself to just use one pen and one planning system. Now, in theory, of course, most creators have kind of run along with this idea and kind of made it their own or altered it so that it suits their lifestyle. Now, here's the thing. For me, I will just tell you right now, I personally did not partake in One Book July, and we'll kind of go over the reasons as to why I chose not to kind of jump on the bandwagon. But when it comes right down to it, it was very simple and very obvious from the get-go that it would not be a system, it would not be a trend that would actually work for me. So let's get started first, like with the benefits. What are some of the benefits, or who is it really for? Who would it be ideal for to kind of try this or to partake in it? While we're kind of exploring this idea, especially on a psychological level, of who would actually like truly benefit from this this concept and this trend. Well, I do think that it's obvious that it doesn't take very much. It doesn't take too much nudging for you to feel overwhelmed, because the choices and the systems are seemingly limitless, really. I mean, we can kind of categorize them down, but for the most part, most of us that have more than one plan or system in place, it not only because it fills a different purpose, but it's just sort of adding another layer of thing to kind of attend to. And so I do believe that if you are in a space where you are already, if your lifestyle is already at a point where you feel overwhelmed or bombarded with an overload of information, then you already might be at a space where you might already have decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is essentially just basically your brain just gets really tired of having to make decisions of, should it be this one or this one? So when it comes to adding another layer of decision of, you know, what planner you should use and then which system you should update first and which one you should go with and which one is the most ideal for you, it definitely does overwhelm your brain quite a bit. So by the end of the day, you can kind of check in with yourself and see if you're finding yourself really exhausted by the end of the day, but you haven't actually done too much as far as like strenuous movement and exercise, and your work is not like, you know, putting you into like this strenuous movement, then you might find yourself, you know, that you might be exhausted mainly because you're actually tired of making too many decisions. So for that reason, obviously, you know, the idea of kind of like condensing everything into and really creating a level of minimalism, it can seem really ideal. It can feel really enticing. It might even also feel like a breath of fresh air, essentially. So I think that you would really love this if you're at a point where you get really easily distracted, whether you're distracted at work or within the planner community, you're finding that there's too many shiny things. There's too many things that are kind of happening, and there's too many systems that have sort of an appeal to them that you're really naturally drawn to. If that's the case, then bringing it down to just one system only and really giving it a fair shot and a fair go might actually be truly beneficial for you, simply because then you're not constantly introducing these other systems to distract you. Now, another reason why you might really want to kind of give this a go is because you might find yourself, like, especially if you're buying new stationery each month, or you're buying them once in a while, it doesn't really matter. But every single time that you buy them, you're always feeling like something is missing and you don't really feel satiated. So if you keep buying like new systems or new sub boxes or new inserts and things like that, you might find yourself that you're lining all of these things up and they kind of like give you that temporary hit of satisfaction, but for the most part, they're actually not kind of doing it for you. They're not really allowing you to really enjoy the hobby for what it is. So you might actually find that it might be actually beneficial to just kind of hone in on one system only, see how that goes, really build from there, and really take your time, almost like using the principle of less is more. Now, another reason why you might want to kind of just reduce your system that might be really ideal is because you tend to forget to use most of your systems. So if you have like a traveler's notebook, then you have like a Hibino, then you have like the passport traveler's notebook, then you have like a weeks or a common planner. So you have all of these different systems going on, and then we're adding another layer of like notebooks on top of that, and you haven't touched certain ones for a really long time, then it might mean that you might just need to kind of like hone in on only one and see how you do, and see if all of these other systems that we have created or that we have accumulated, was that really just because it looked pretty at the very beginning, or is it something that's actually going to get utilized? Have you given it an actual purpose? Which kind of brings me to my next point. If you don't have a purpose for your systems, it's not going to get used. At least you're not including it into that rotation, into that flow of when you would actually utilize it and what is the purpose that it fills in your life. And honestly, the purpose doesn't have to be very, deep and meaningful and life-changing. The purpose could just simply be, I have this so that I can capture all of the events that take place during swimming lessons. And that's it. And then just keep it simple. Keep most of these purposes simple so that it gives you an excuse for you to, it could be that, I need an outlet where I can update my, I can like leave my stickers in there and make them look pretty. Perfect. Write down one fantastic idea a day. Whatever it is, whatever the purpose is, it doesn't have to be overly complicated, as long as you kind of, I don't want to say force yourself to use it, but you can always find a way to utilize the things that you have and repurpose them. So in a separate video, we can definitely go over different ideas of how you can kind of repurpose what you already have so that you don't go into feeling like you need something brand new. But really, when you hone into one, then it's sort of like everything goes into that same space. By the way, are you enjoying this video? Do you find it helpful and useful? If so, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't had a chance to already, and hit the notification bell, because obviously we have a lot of fun here. If you're brand new to planning, I think that you would find this valuable if you really don't want to go into overconsumerism and buying a whole bunch of stationery that you don't end up using. So just saying. Okay, back to the video. I think that you would also really love this to just bring your system down to one, is if you're finding that you have both reoccurring appointments, a predictable schedule, it doesn't change, it doesn't shift all that often, it's fairly predictable. You already know that you're going to be working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Friday and Saturday you have it off, and then Sunday is your self-care day. Whatever it is, if there's a sense of routine, but maybe your hours change, or you already know that maybe bi-weekly you work from home, and then every Wednesday it's your, I don't know, like it's your Costco run day, then having one planner systems might actually be the most valuable, and also the most, because eventually you're just not going to be keep rewriting the exact same thing over and over again. I do think that sometimes we switch planner systems because it becomes boring and redundant, and we keep rewriting the exact same thing. So with things like that, you can just create a color coordinated system, add it in there, and then move on. And then that way you know that you don't have to keep rewriting that every 2 weeks you're going to be going to Costco. Does that make sense? You also, if you're finding that you're constantly forgetting things, need I say more? If you're forgetting things, then that means that the system that you have created for yourself is obviously not functioning the way that it was intended for. And then you need to kind of change something. One element needs to change. And it could just be that you need to kind of reduce. I don't know why we're kind of narrowing in, but I mean, really like just kind of narrowing down, like, again, not just how many things you need to update on a regular basis, but also if you're looking for something, you go to that page and then you know that if it's in there, then you know that you've at least written that appointment or that reminder down, and it reduces the occurrence of how often you might end up forgetting things. Now let's talk about why it might not be for you, and I'm going to include myself into this, so we'll kind of talk a little bit about, if you're not familiar with my systems, we'll kind of talk a little bit about it. So I'm going to just speak on the purpose of some of the ones that I have, some of the planner systems that I have in place, and why I chose to have them in the first place. But really, it's not going to be for you if you love using different pens. It's based on your mood, and you love changing them seasonally, and you don't have this one ride or die go to. It's always going to be a ballpoint pen. But let's say that you love to use multiple colors and multiple pens. That would be me. I really love using fountain pens, but sometimes I also love using just normal ballpoint pens. So this one is from Sarasa. I reach for this sometimes. It's definitely not something that I reach for on a daily basis. I definitely have to be in the mood for it. I'm more than likely going to be reaching for something like the Kaweco or any of my fountain pens. And that's just how I plan. And to me, it becomes like the nibs become really predictable. It just becomes a little bit easier for me to write with them. So, you know, if you're finding that you created a planner system, like let's say you're in the ring system, and everything is just these inserts, everything. And you're so bored to tears with this, you will probably stray. You will probably change up your system, because then like being confined into just updating this only all the time, even though you might love this system initially, it may become redundant for you. It may become one of those things where it wears you out and you just need a fresh set of paper, a fresh set of pens and inks. And honestly, that level of boredom that you might be feeling might just be an invitation to change something up so that you get a fresh new flood of creativity. At least that's how it is for me. So that was one of the reasons why I chose not to go with it, is because I need a variety. For me to be bogged into one system only, it really does bother me. It definitely induces my anxiety tenfold, because I just feel like I'm now constricted into one place where I have to put everything. And if I can't make it work functionally, then I'm somehow failing. There's no such thing really as failing within a planning system. However, some systems will definitely work a lot better for you than others, as I can attest to this, because sometimes I do try a system and sometimes it works fantastically well. Other times it just feels really heavy, or it just feels really obligatory for me to update it. The moment that sometimes becomes like an obligation, it no longer feels expansive. It no longer feels like fun and light and easy. And so if you're finding that that's what's happening with you and with your planner system, definitely examine it and see. Maybe you just need to add a notebook. Maybe you just need to add something that kind of breaks up the redundancy of this whole system. It also might not be for you if you're like me and you needed a space for a brain dump or journaling. This does not give me that. I do have journaling inserts here. I've taken it out because so this would be like a similar, like almost like a mindfulness practice type of thing. Like, okay, let's look at like, what does like your productive week look like? And then what is your weekly reflection? It sounds amazing, right? Like it sounds like it would be something that I would 100% want to kind of update on a regular basis. How you feel, like it speaks to all of the different elements that I would really want to kind of speak on in my journal. However, I don't like this because this is not the planner system that I consider for me to write down really how I feel. Honestly, a lot of the times, if I really, really, really want to journal and not add any creativity, I think I mentioned this multiple times, I would look for something like this. Just a straight up book. I add something minimal. A lot of the times I don't even really add anything. I just write. I just keep writing until I feel like I'm done, you know? And that's something to speak on. I don't really show this. I don't do this on camera. It's definitely just something for me. And I don't update this every single day because I don't write in here every single day. But when I do, I just write. I don't think about it too much. It's just, it becomes one of those things where I just want to really, but basically like I just kind of look at it like, give me something simple so that I can just write down exactly how I feel and then just move on. So this would be definitely one of those things for me. And then for daily journaling and things like that, I have been finding that this little guy has been allowing me to get really, really creative, and it's giving me that element that has been missing. It's really giving me that aspect of just using a little bit of decor, but not making that like the main thing, allowing me to really write in more of a smaller format. And sometimes I write absolutely nothing because I don't feel like updating it. But then other times I really feel like it gives me the subsections that I really want to update. And so far, I would have to say that I've been doing this for the last couple of weeks. It's going awesome. It's going awesome because I walk away from each journaling session feeling lighter and feeling like I've actually captured something about my day that was really relevant. And the other part of it is that honestly, like if you have multiple things going on in your life, and this is I think probably the most important aspect of doing or not doing one book journal or one book July is, or to be in one planner system. Do you have a lot going on in your life? Are you running a family? Are you running a business? Are you trying to run a side hustle? All of those things need space, and they don't have the space to expand so that you can expand your thoughts and your ideas and direction. Yes, you can use, digital planning tools. They're still not going to be there. The digital planning tools, all I'm going to say about them, you can use them as an accessory to your paper planning supplies and your planner tools. And the reason why I say that is because your brain takes a different neural pathway when you're writing on paper. It forces you to slow down. It forces you to look at the paper. It forces you to see it, capture it with your eyes, and then think the thing that you're going to be writing down. So there's all of these different aspects that most of us don't really think about that actually has the ability for you to remember a little bit easier, right? Which means that, not only are you going to be comprehending a little bit easier, but then you're also going to make sure that you will actually hold your appointments or hold your commitments true a little bit easier, right? Which kind of makes sense if you think about it logically. So without going further into this, basically all you need to understand is that when you write it down on paper, you're more likely to remember things a little bit more, and your follow through is also increasing. So that's just how it is. And can you use like all of these other digital elements and notes and things like that on your phone or on your computer? 100% you can. But I would never rely fully on them, because when you're interacting with a computer, it's so different and it runs at a completely different speed than when you're sitting down and you're writing. And that's true for journaling, and it's also true for planning. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, the other part of it is that I personally really like the idea of not only separating my systems, but I also like separating the way that I journal. So I just recently picked up my traveler's notebook, and you will see a lot more videos of me just doing some journaling sessions and just kind of updating things, because for one, I have it, and for another, I want to update them when I feel called to do so, or when I have that mental space. And when I look back, it's kind of like one of those things that it's so satisfying to just kind of look back and see what I actually managed to fill out. And so, like when that happens, it's lovely. Like, just me writing in here, it just makes me feel like, I've given my creativity an outlet today. And when I'm feeling restricted in one system, I'm probably not going to feel like, oh yeah, I gave some space to my creativity. I'm going to feel like, let me make sure that I have everything. And it's very much just like, it's just a different part of my brain that takes over. That's basically it. It's just a different part of me that takes over, that becomes really structured and regimented. Whereas when I'm journaling, I feel like more of my creative and open and, you know, lighthearted side of me can take over. And I think that those of you that journal a lot, or do any type of creative work, you're kind of finding that yin and yang. You're kind of finding that balance between which part of you needs an outlet more, right? So for that reason, I just chose not to partake in it, because I knew that I would feel really, really restricted. I would probably not be happy with it, and I know I would probably not stick with it. And a big part of me would actually be really sad not being able to use the things that I really feel called to use. However, having said all of that, and it's just not me trashing on One Book July, because one of the main takeaways that I would love for you to take away from this is, if you're new to planning, you would love this. If you forget things very easily, then obviously just start with one book and see how you do. And if you have like reoccurring or a predictable schedule, you don't have children, you don't have all of these different elements that are going on, you're not in that chapter of your life, then I think that you would really love this. And honestly, one of the main thing is, and that's, I think, one of the main things that really that I really love about One Book July, is that if you're finding yourself over consuming journaling and planning supplies, and you're hippity hopping between planner systems, then I think that there would be a lot of value in actually trying it out and see how you make out with it. That's on a long format of what I kind of wanted to share with you. I would love for you to kind of let me know in the comment section, did you partake in One Book July? And if you did, how did you make out? I would love to hear from you. As always, just, you know, if you're finding this video helpful, useful, all of the things, then make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you get notified every time I release a new video. Obviously, just you hanging out with me here, it means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for doing that. And of course, if you ever wanted to see any behind the scenes videos or early access to certain videos, or you just want to kind of see the development of how I go about creating certain spreads or where I get things from, you get the point. Make sure you check out actually the membership site or the membership section of YouTube, because I would love to have you in the community so that I can kind of give you guys more inside scoops and give you guys early access to my videos. This is all I have for you. I hope that you have enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to see you in my next one. Bye.